Okay. Today's lecture is about building codes and regulations. This is an extremely important topic in the professional practice. It's not heavily stressed during the education, which might be a negative element. But when you graduate, this is the first thing you will encounter as an architect that you have to abide with and follow in your work. Building codes and regulations are mainly for the public welfare, not for the architect, not for the building. They are for the public welfare, and their main target is to protect the users from any hazards inside and around the building. They are, of course, very important to design because they dictate volume, height, number of floors, setbacks, and many other issues, including codes for elevators, for plumbing, for firefighting. So they cover all aspects of the building, and they are updated regularly by the government to adjust to any changes. Compliance with them is essential. Violation might lead you to jail, but it might lead other people to injury. And the least thing, it will be a legal liability. And this can also be used to revoke your license from the syndicate. So you have to be aware about the building codes and regulations and follow them closely. No playing around or changes or maneuvers. Follow the codes clear. The first recorded code was made around 1700 or 1800 BC by Hammurabi in Iraq, and he indicated that the builder is responsible for a structural collapse resulting in loss of life. The architect will be, or the builder would lose their life. The code dictates that if the building kills the owner, the architect should be killed. If it kills the son of the owner, the son of the architect should be killed. So it was very harsh and very closely followed by everyone. Other codes became available in ancient Athens, where buildings were mainly should be safe for users. Also in Rome, there was an accident of an amphitheater collapse that resulted in laws about public buildings. So they started to have laws from that time. A very important event happened in London in 1189. It was called the London Fire. The whole city, or large parts of the city, went in fire because of the building design and the building material and the urban fabric of the city at that time. And from that time, they started to require firewalls between houses. It's exactly like what you have here in the countryside. If there is a fire in one of the peasants' houses, it will spread all around the village because the materials and the compactness. So from that time, people started to realize we cannot let architects do whatever they like. We have to have codes that protect human beings and welfare. Also in Boston, this 1630, code started to say no man shall build his chimney with wood. nor cover his roof with thatch. So this is to eliminate any hazards of fire. So these accidents alerted people for the importance of building codes. Building codes are complex documents. They are not easy to understand. They are not easy to implement. They require good study. The main purpose is to protect the building occupants. And this is our main goal. So we consider the building codes and regulations a minimum, not a maximum. You are welcome to add more protection to the users than the required by the building codes. Firefighters and emergency personnel, they become in a very vulnerable situation when there is earthquake or fire. So they need to have all the equipment, all the passages to save the people from the hazard. We also work on the building itself and its relationship to other buildings and the community at large. So the building codes, they have several levels, but the most important is the people. Protection, of course, from fire, which, as we said, in London, it started the thinking about this idea. Structural collapse, earthquakes, and other structural failures. Health and safety hazards, including smoke. Most people during the fire, they don't die from the fire. Fire doesn't kill. What kills is the smoke and the escape. They inhale a lot of smoke and they can't find the escape routes. Or the escape routes are crowded, so they stampede on each other. So this is very critical for that. So as we said, they provide minimum standards, not maximum. Consider the building codes and regulations minimum standard to safeguard life, limb, health, property, and public welfare. This is our main and first target. Regulating the design, construction, quality of materials, use and occupancy, location, and maintenance of all buildings within the jurisdiction. So we want to stress this. The main purpose of the building codes is to save the people, to safeguard the occupants. What if there is no code? You are building in the desert or a vacant land. You have to create your own code using reasonable care to protect the people who will occupy this environment. What do they cover? They cover specific design construction requirements, occupancy, how many people should be living in or working in one place, building height. They put limits on the building height, 20 meters, 30 meters, 15 meters. That affects the skyline of the city and the air movement and everything. Floor area, we have standards for floor area use. So if you limit the floor area, you know how many persons will be in that place. That is important because when you know how many people are expected to be in that building or community, then you start to design the infrastructure, how much water they need, how much sewage they will produce, how much garbage they will produce. All these aspects are related to the number of people. And the number of people is decided by the floor area. For residential areas, for offices, for hospitals. Each building has standards. We studied that in the programming lecture in the beginning. Firefighting is extremely important. Fire alarms, firefighting equipment, sand, water, firefighting system like what we have. So, and these are important elements and are part of the building codes. How much resistance do you need to design the structural elements for? Floors, ceilings, partition walls, and finishing materials, carpet, curtains. All these are important issues. They restrict the building height, especially near airports, because the landing of the airplane requires lower height of buildings. When you go near the airport, you see that most of the buildings are only 4 floors, and they even avoid making elevators shaft on top. Usually the last floor is not accessible by elevator. So you go up to the 1 floor below the last, and then you go up by stairs. So when you go to the area of Sheraton Heliopolis or any area around airports, you find that the buildings are lower so that the airplane does not have any obstruction while landing. Requirements for compartmentation, because you need to provide areas to protect the people during the fire. So if you are designing a 60-floor tower or 40-floor tower, it takes a long time to evacuate the tower, 2 or 3 hours. If you are going down 60 floors, how many minutes does it take you to go down 1 floor? At least 2 minutes by stairs, no elevator, because elevators must stop during the fire so that people are not stay inside. So you have to go down by stairs. How many minutes does it take you to go down 1 floor by stairs? 1 minute, half a minute. If you have 30 floors, you need 15 minutes to go down. Imagine you have 100 people with you in the same staircase going down. It takes more time because you have to wait for the maneuvers. So approximately it takes 1 hour to go down to the ground level. If you watch the movies of 9/11, you see how the firefighters were trying to take the people down. So you provide compartmentation. These are areas that are protected from fire and smoke within the floor. So every 10 floors, I provide a fire protection floor or compartmentation. So people, instead of trying to go all the way down, they can go to this area and be protected from the fire and the smoke until firefighters come and save. Fire protection systems, flame spread ratings. This is also important. Egress means the escape routes from the building, stairs, corridors, and doors. No elevators are considered egress. During fire or hazards, elevators must stop. Disabled people, you have also to think about how they will exit during emergency. Light, ventilation, and all indoor environment requirements. Energy conservation, structural requirements. So there are building codes especially for structural requirements. calculations, amount of steel, the composition of concrete, everything is stated in the building codes. Materials performance, services, plumbing, water, electricity, communication, and so forth. There are two types of codes similar to the specifications. We have prescriptive requirements. They indicate exactly what is needed to be done for every element of the code. The other type is performance requirements. What are the desired results from the design? And it leaves up to you how the materials, the elements are selected. Usually, governments prefer the prescriptive requirements because it can be followed by everyone. Standards can also be used by reference or provide consistent approach to products and process, manufacturing, performance guidelines, and so forth. Who is doing the building codes? There are agencies that are specifically working on building codes, making sure they are followed in the design and construction, and update them every while so that they are changed. They can be changed. So you have to make sure that you have the latest building codes and regulations. Printed document by the government, and they're usually sold in the Amiri print house, which is located in Al-Ataba, Al-Opera Square, near Al-Ataba Square. There is a shop there that sells all governmental publications, official governmental publications, and you can buy the books from there. What you need to do is to review by the enforcement. You need to review the drawings, issue building permits. So when you do a project, first of all, you have to do a permit for construction. You cannot just go and build. You have to get a permit, and the permit is based on drawings that you submit to the governmental agency that issues the permit. And they give you a permit to start construction. And then they come back and check whether you followed the same drawings or you have changed something during construction. And periodically inspect the project for conformance. Many people, they submit drawings, بسموها في مصر رسومات رخصة, and then they do something else. They increase the size, they increase the height, they change the use, the function. The agencies must come and inspect the conformance to the license or the permit, and maintain public records of the building and construction and materials and use and so forth. Before the building is occupied, you have to issue an occupancy permit. After you finish the whole thing, you have to get an occupancy permit. And this is where the research post-occupancy evaluation came from, because it is after the occupancy of the building. After the building is occupied, it will be under the control of the fire marshal. They must have access all the time to the building. And if you design an urban area or a complex, you need to make sure that the fire hydrant or the fire car and the ambulance can go through, cannot just make everything blocked. So the design must allow the emergency and services to enter. And also the jurisdiction to compensate for confusion caused by jurisdiction overlaps. The most conservative advice is to design according to the most restrictive requirements. Don't try to find loopholes in the law. Follow the maximum, as we said, and even more. So the project may require or will definitely require a building permit at the beginning. You apply for a building permit with drawings, land contract, forms, and so forth. And then you may need other permits. You need a permit from the fire department. You need a permit from the structural department, from the air aviation. If you are close to the airport, you need to have an aviation route permit. So you need to look for all the permits before you start construction. And then at the end, you'll have a certificate of occupancy or occupancy permit before the building may be occupied. Appeals are also possible, but other building regulations for fire. No, we were stopped here. Variances, you can apply for variances from the code or the regulations, but don't take it for granted. You can apply for more floors, more space, the change of function, but you have to apply and get the approval before you make the changes. And make sure that variances apply to one project at a time. Don't assume that your neighbor received a variance that it applies to you. No, you have to get the approval for yourself, not based on the other precedent. طبعا the judicial relief through courts تبقى في penalties, stop construction if they find you are not complying. There are civil liabilities, you'll get sued and revocation of your license, fine, and sometimes jail if it's dangerous or it kills people. There are many special codes for fire prevention, housing, health, and so forth for different types of buildings that you have to look for. What is your duty as an architect? Your duty is to follow the regulations closely and even go beyond them to protect the people. The building codes in practice, as you said, are very important. And even if the client does not want to follow them, your role as an architect is to push the client to follow the codes and the regulations, because it will affect you and your work and license. Search for all the codes. There are architects specialized in offices to compliance. they make sure that they have all the recent codes and all the projects are complying with all these codes and regulations. And this is a very important control check for projects. Projects might be excellent, beautiful, creative, but they are not complying with the codes. So they are out of question. Code provision should be perceived as ingredients and not an option. And as we said, you need to go above the required code. Schematic design stage, you need to provide the fundamental design parameters applicable to the code, site placement, setbacks, building size, height, interior layout, as well as construction details. The construction documents, you have to check carefully the application of the construction codes and building codes, structure codes, electric codes. So this all has to be complied for. Type. A brief introduction of the Egyptian building codes. This is the code that is currently applied, 119/2008. I suggest that you get your own copy of this document. It is available online طبعا, but I prefer you get this nice blue book from المطابع الأميرية اللي هي بتنشر كل official documents of the government. And they must be published in a newspaper called الوقائع. حد سمع عن الوقائع قبل كده؟ الوقائع المصرية. It's a very old newspaper, and it's specialized in publishing all the laws that govern the country. So anything introduced by the government must be published in al-waqa'i before it becomes an effective law. And this is a very important برضه document that you have to get the official law published in al-waqa'i al-Masriya, and of course it is published as books. This is the introduction of the code, and as we said, it has several levels of control, starting from, and first definitions of what is الكتلة المعمارية، الكثافة السكانية، معدل التزاحم، عدد الأفراد في الغرفة، نسبة إشغال الأرض اللي هي النسبة البنائية اللي هي الفوت برنت، اللي هي النسبة المئوية لمساحة مباني الطابق الأرضي من مساحة قطعة الأرض، ده اللي بنسميها الفوت برنت on the land. طبعا you have to follow the changes and they keep changing. هتلاقي بقى قانون معدل تعديلات على القانون، فلازم تاخد بالك ان اي بند يعدل تعلم عليه وتجيب التعديلات بتاعته من القانون اللي صدر بعديه. لازم التعديل يصدر برضه في الوقائع. البنية الأساسية، التجهيزات والخدمات، طبعا بيكمل بقى التعريفات بتاعته. حد الطريق، يعني ايه حد الطريق؟ ستريت لاين. وحد التنظيم او خط التنظيم، فممكن يبقى الستريت لاين هنا بس انا حد التنظيم بتاعي هنا. Not the same. I cannot use the whole land. I use only the part that is allowed. محور الطريق خط البناء، ارتفاع المبنى. ارتفاع المبنى بيقاس ازاي؟ من ارتفاع ظهر منسوب البلاطة الخرسانية للدور الأخير مقاسا من منسوب الرصيف أمام منتصف الوجه، ولا يدخل في حساب الارتفاع ارتفاع الدراوي وغرف الخدمات في السطح. يعني أنا بقيس الارتفاع ازاي؟ بقيسه من الرصيف. طيب افترض أنا الأرض عندي مايلة كده، فعندي رصيف هنا وعندي رصيف هنا، هقيس من أنهي واحد؟ بشوف الرصيف عند منتصف الوجه، هو ده اللي اقيس بيه، واقيس الارتفاع لغايه ظهر الخرسانه المسلحه، هو ده الارتفاع بتاعي. بعد كده بقى عندك دلاوي، عندك غرف، دي بتبقى مش داخله في حساب الارتفاعات. فالتفاصيل دي مهمه، لان دي ممكن تضيع لك متر او اتنين في الشغل بتاعك. الارتفاع الكلي في المبنى، الارتداد الامامي، الفرونت سيت باك والسايد سيت باك والباك سيت باك، كل دي مسافات متحدده في القانون، وكل area each area has its own setbacks you have to follow. ممكن تبقى 3 متر، 3 4 2 1 1 whatever. So you have to find this clearly. طبعا هنا بيتكلم على تعريفات ايه، يعني ايه وحدة سكنية، يعني ايه غرفة سكنية، يعني ايه مطبخ. بيتكلم على تعريفات كل المحتويات بتاعة المباني، عشان ما يبقاش فيه خلط او فيه اختلاف في وجهات النظر. الكثافة البنائية ده معامل استغلال الأرض. This is a very important element اللي هو it's different than the footprint. ده ال FAR، سميها ال F Floor Area Ratio. ده أنا عندي مثلا أرض 500 متر، 500 meters، and the FAR the Floor Area Ratio is 3. يبقى I can build 1500 meters square of floor area. تمام؟ بعد كده ال 1500 دول لازم اراعي السيت باكس، فبشوف المساحه اللي فاضله لي من السيت باك طلعت 250، يبقى انا ممكن ابني كام دور؟ 1500 على 250 يبقوا كام؟ 6. لكن انا بقى لما رحت للبيلدينج هايت لقيته 5، اعمل ايه؟ ابني 6 ولا 5؟ 5، لان انا I have to abide with all the codes. ف I followed the FAR، معامل استغلال الارض floor area ratio. I followed the setbacks. I can build 6 floors, but the height is only 5, so I have to follow the 5. That's what we do when we do site studies in reality, in professional work. You might have a client who is interested in 2 or 3 sites. He wants to buy one for his project or her project. And they come and ask you, which site should I choose? طبعا there are issues related to the site analysis, access and views الكلام ده، بس there are issues related to the building regulations. One site might provide more area usable and suitable for sales and renting than another site. So also we have to think about the feasibility study of the project. فالكثافة البنائية تمثل كحد أقصى نسبة إجمالي المساحات المبنية بكافة الأدوار، أعلى أو أسفل منسوب سطح الطريق، يعني this includes the basements. Okay. إلى إجمالي مساحة قطعة الأرض المقام عليها المبنى. ولا يدخل في حساب الكثافة البنائية المسطحات اللازمة للجراجات وغرف مرافق الخدمات في السطح. فطبعا اللي بيحصل ان the owner and the architect they submit licensing or permit drawings with garage underground. بعدين after a while they change it to make it a residential. طب this is against the law. ده violation of the law and intended كمان not just طيب طبعا بتدخل بقى على الباب الثالث. بيكلمك على what are the required documents to apply to submit and inspections and so forth. This is the details of the codes. فبدي لك كل الارياز بتاعت الديزاين. يعني بيقول لك مثلا ايه، لا يصرح باصدار تراخيص بناء لاي مبنى على اي قطعه ارض الا اذا كان مطابقا لاشتراطات التخطيط. دي بند نمره واحد. فانا عندي هيئه عامه للتخطيط العمراني طلع دوكيومنتس تخطيط الاراضي والمساحات بتاعتها، لان هم بيشتغلوا على الاربن ليفل. they have to control that. يكون الحد الادنى الصافي لصافي الارتفاع الداخلي للطابق الواحد مقاسم من مستوى السطح النهائي للأرضية حتى بطنية سقفه الظاهر في جميع الأدوار 2.7 2.7. ويجوز أن يقل الارتفاع إلى المذكور إلى 32 بالنسبة للمداخل والطرقات الداخلية والحمامات وغرف الغسيل. فأنا minimum 270 for rooms but it can be 230 for corridors and services. طيب الحد الأدنى للمساحات الغرفة السكنية 7 متر ونص. حد أدنى للبعد 2 متر ونص، ده يبقى 2 ونص في 3. التويلت 0.80 يعني 80 سنتي في متر. مطابخ 3. حمامات 1.5. طبعا التفاصيل موجودة، لازم تتقري كلها وتتعرف كويس. طيب بيقول لك يجب أن يكون لكل غرفة أو مرفق من مرافق البناء للوحدات السكنية فتحة أو عدة فتحات للتهوية والإضاءة الطبيعية. يعني لازم يبقى عندك شبابيك في الغرف، ودي بيقعدوا يحسبوها. ولازم الشبابيك دي تكون 8% من مسطح أرضية الغرف السكنية. فتشوف الغوضة مثلا 30 متر، 8% يبقوا كام؟ 3 في 8 24. يبقى لازم يكون عندي 2.4 متر مربع فتحات في الأوضة. 30 متر ممكن أعمل أكتر، بس ده الإيه المينيمم بتاعي. 10% من مسطح أي مرفق من مرافق المبنى، حمام، مطبخ، دورة مياه، بئر، سلم وما إلى ذلك. في حالة تعدد الفتحات تحتسب مساحة الفتحة اللازمة على أساس مجموع مساحات الفتحات، وبشرط ألا يقل مساحة الفتحة الواحدة عن 1.5 متر. الكلام ده كله لازم يتذاكر. يعني you must study this in detail، لأن هتلاقي فيه تفاصيل وتريكس كتير. طيب في حالة وجود باب يفتح مباشرة على درج السلم يجب أن يفصل بينهما مسافة لا تقل عن 1 متر. ما أقدرش أحط بيبان لازقة في بعض، لازم يبقى فيه متر مسافة بينهم. ألا يقل ارتفاع جلسات الشبابيك عن 90 سنتي 0.9 متر إلا في حالة وجود بلكونات أو شرفات أمام هذه الشبابيك من الخارج، عشان إيه تبقى منعا للسقوط بارتفاع 90 سنتي. عرض الأبواب المينيمم 80 سنتي للغرف السكنية والمكاتب، 70 سنتي للمطابخ والحمامات. متر للمحلات التجارية و280 للجراجات. نتكلم بقى على حتة الكورت يارد، ودي برضو a very important element. في عندنا نوعين من الكورت يارد او الفناء او المانور بالمصري. مانور، في نوعين من المناور. في عندي مانور سكني، وفي عندي مانور خدمات. خدمات يبقى مفتوح عليه مطابخ وحمامات فقط. السكني لو تفتح عليه غرف نوم، ليفينج، وهكذا. فدول الاثنين مختلفين عن بعض ولهم ايه ريكويرمنتس مختلفة. آه طيب، عايزانا نبدأ بعد 10 دقايق. كويس. فهنا بيدي لك كل ال الاحتياجات اللي لازم توفرها في المناور. والمناور بتقاس مش من السنتر لاين للسنتر لاين، لا، تتقاس من الوول تو وول. فلازم يبقى الكليرنس بتاع الوول هو اللي يديك المساحه، مش تقول له بقى ما هي انا عاملها على السنتر لاين. مفيش كلام من ده، لازم المساحه تبقى وول تو وول. فنشوف هنا بيقول ايه. بيقول يراعى عند اقامه المباني او تعليتها او اجراء تعديلات بها ان تتوافر بالافنيه المخصصه لاناره وتهويه غرف ومرافق البناء الاشتراطات التاليه: الغرف السكنيه والمكاتب، خارجي وداخلي. يعني ايه؟ فناء خارجي يعني له ضلع مفتوح على بره. فناء داخلي يعني مقفول من كل الجهات وعليه غرف. دول اتنين. الخارجي الحد الأدنى للأبعاد ربع عين. يعني ايه 0.25 عين؟ اللي هو الارتفاع. فلو أنا عندي الارتفاع 5 أدوار في 3 15، وعايز أعمل مانور خدمات، يبقى كام؟ ربع في 15 بكام؟ 3 وربع. لازم يبقى المنور أو 3 متر أيهما أكبر. فإذا كانت الثلاثة أكبر هروح لو طلع لي 2.5، لا يبقى لازم أعمل 3. أوكي؟ طيب، ده لو خارجي. لكن لو داخلي، ما هو ده اللي بيبقى إيه بوكيت، يعني بتلاقيه بوكيت كده في العمارات أو المباني. تلاقي المبنى كده، المبنى كده، وبعدين في حتة داخلة جوه وفي أوضة نوم بتبص عليها من الجنب كده. فده بيعتبر منور خارجي. بس لازم يبقى في جار الناحيه الثانيه، مش مفتوحه. لو مفتوحه خلاص انا باخد من الكتله بتاعتي. لكن انا بتكلم عن الحاجات اللي هي في الناحيه الثانيه، او يبقى البوكيت دي في نص البيت، فواحده اوضه النوم بتبص عليها. آم، الداخلي بقى آم، ربع ارتفاع او 3 متر ايهما اكبر، والحد الادنى 9 متر. خلي بالك من الملاحظات. 9 متر أو مربع ربع الارتفاع أيهما أكبر. مربع ربع الارتفاع يبقى كام؟ يعني لو ارتفاع قلنا 20 متر، ربعه كام؟ 5. مربعه كام؟ يا خسارة الثانوية العامة اللي نجحتوا فيها. احنا بقول فوازير كلها رقمين 3. يعني منتال ماس يا جماعة، منتال ماس. مفيش منتال خالص. 20 على 4 ب5، 5 في 5 بكام؟ بس يبقى انا لازم اشتغل ايه؟ يا اما 9 متر او مربع ربع الارتفاع ايهما اكبر. فطبعا يعني عادة اللي بنعمل منور بيبقى مباني عالية، يعني اكتر من 5 6 متر يعني. فمش هنعمل التسعة ده ابدا يعني. طيب الحمامات والمطابخ ودورات المياه وأماكن غسيل وتخزين. فيها برضو نوعين، داخلي وخارجي، 2.5. أو تبدأ بقى تبص 7.5 إذا كانت عين أقل من أو تساوي 10. 10 إذا كانت عين اللي هو الارتفاع أقل من أو تساوي 20. 12.5 إذا كانت عين أقل من أو تساوي 30. أنت لو ما قريتش الكلام ده وعارفه مش هتعرف تطبقه، ورسوماتك هتترفض من الرخص. عملت بقى ريفت، عملت اي عملت عفريت ازرق، المبنى مش هيطلع. ده نمبر 1. زي محمد رمضان كده، اول حاجه تهتم بيها هي قوانين البناء. سيبك بقى من كل حاجه، كل الهبس اللي اتعلمته في الجامعه ده بقى اللي هيشغلك في السوق. طيب، ندخل على بند تاني اصعب شويه. يراعى بالنسبة للأراضي التي لا يزيد المسطح المسموح بالبناء عليها بالدور الأرضي على 100 متر، ولا يجاوز الارتفاع المسموح به 19 متر عند إقامة المباني أو تعليتها، توفير ما يلي: الجزء من المبنى المطلوب إنارته وتهويته، الحمامات والمطابخ والغرف السكنية، وبيدي لك نوع الفناء خارجي وداخلي، الحد الأدنى للأبعاد، الحد الأدنى لمسطح الفناء. دي للأراضي التي لا يزيد المسطح المسموح بالبناء عليه للدور الأرضي أكثر من 100 متر. فيعني دي أراضي صغيرة قوي، ما بنلحقش نتعامل معاها كتير يعني. السلالم، طول الظاهر للدرجة 110 إذا كان 110 سنتي إذا كان عدد الوحدات بالدور 4 وحدات. يعني إيه طول الظاهر للدرجة؟ يعني حضرتك من الحيطة لغاية الدرابزين يبقى كلير. بيمسك الراجل، بيجي يمسك المتر كده ويقيس، مش مطابق بيديك مخالفة. 130 للسلم الرئيسي و110 للسلم الثانوي إذا كان عدد الوحدات بالدور يزيد عن 4. الدور ممكن يبقى فيه شقتين أو 4 أو 6 أو 8 حسب شكل العمارة، فكل واحدة لها سلالم معينة تتعمل. أقل ارتفاع للكوبيستا 90 سنتي. الحد الأقصى للدرجات 14. لازم بعديها يبقى فيه صدفة اللي هي اللاندنج تبقى قيمتها قد إيه؟ 4 قوايم. عارفين السلم عبارة عن قايمة ونايمة. القايمة 15 سنتي، أنا بتكلم هيروغليفي طبعا، يعني القايمة والنايمة. طب كويس. القايمة بتبقى 15 والنايمة 30. فأنا عايز 4 قوايم على الأقل في اللاندنج، وتبقى الأقل تبقى إيه 60 سنتي. طبعا في بقى تفاصيل رهيبة يعني بعد كده. لما يبقى 2 عاملين مناور جنب بعض يتحسبوا إزاي؟ هي الست عايزة تبتدي دلوقتي. ماشي. طيب، هنوقف هنا اهوت ونبدأ المحاضرة بتاعت الجلوبال سيجنتشر كورس. استني بقى عليا ايه.